They received tens of millions of dollars to provide access and influence with Biden. Joe actively participated in this conspiracy. He did a bunch of stuff, attended dinners, went to speaker phones call sessions. He attended a dinner with Hunter and Yelena Baturina, a Russian oligarch. Russia? Now, from 2014 to the present, as part of a conspiracy to monetize Joe Biden's office and to enrich the Biden family, they got over $27 million. Woo, man, that's a lot. Prevented line investigators from taking other investigative steps, and they allowed the statute of limitations, which is like first grade 101 prosecutors. Calendar the statute of limitations. Don't let those expire. The most serious felony charges, expired. Now, these tactics were all convenient. They all benefited Hunter. A massive 300-page report shows the details of the Biden corruption and the Biden crime family. This is their impeachment inquiry, and it's a monster report. We'll take a look at some of the highlights here. You can see it came out August 19, 2024, and it's a big boy. And inside of it are the details. This is the executive summary. Joe Biden involved in epic levels of corruption over decades. They tell us the Constitution of the United States entrusts the House of Representatives with the sole power of impeachment. That's what we're here to do, if we need to. But first and foremost, we've prepared this report to share with you the evidence we've gathered to date. And what we found is this. There's overwhelming evidence that Biden participated in a conspiracy to monetize his office. They received tens of millions of dollars to provide access and influence with Biden. Joe actively participated in this conspiracy. He did a bunch of stuff, attended dinners, went to speaker phones call sessions. He attended a dinner with Hunter and Yelena Baturina, a Russian oligarch. Russia? Following the dinner, Baturina wired $3.5 million to one of Hunter's businesses. Then months later, they got more money from her. Then Joe Biden, as vice president, got on a phone call with Baturina, hopped on the phone and said, "You be good to my boy, Yelena," saying, moreover, President Biden knowingly participated in this conspiracy. And based on the totality of evidence, Biden did this, we see, to enrich his family by abusing the office of public trust. They tell us that the evidence also establishes that Biden and his family went to great lengths to conceal this. They put the family through complicated financial transactions. They broke up the money into laundered funds and smaller transactions. Tons of efforts were made to hide the funds. And it shows that they leveraged Biden's position in power to garner favor. They give us some details. In 2014, Hunter wanted to start a joint venture with Chinese businessman Henry Zhao. They started this organization called Harvest Fund Management, a $300 billion Chinese financial services company closely related to the CCP. Yeah, didn't hear the media banging on that one. Similarly, while Hunter Biden served on the board of a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma, he utilized his father's position to make a bunch of money. Then Joe Biden changed U.S. policy to keep $1 billion from Ukraine until they stopped or did what Hunter needed them to do. Biden's participation in this conspiracy constitutes impeachable conduct. They monetized the vice presidency, he abused his office, and he put the welfare of his family ahead of us, the people of the United States. Now, this is putting foreign interests ahead of us, the American people. Indeed, precedent set by House Democrats back in 2019 when it comes to the impeachment of Trump shows that this is an impeachable offense. Now, the committee has separately gathered evidence that Biden also used his position to conceal his mishandling of classified docs. During his tenure as vice president, Joe Biden removed highly sensitive classified documents from the White House. He had no authority to do that. Trump did. Documents with classified markings were found at Penn Biden Center, his residence in his garage, University of Delaware, 3 locations not rated. No one took pictures of Jill's underwear. The report of special counsel Robert Hur detailed how Biden willfully retained classified material, shared it with a ghostwriter who was unauthorized to receive it, utilized classified info to draft a memoir. He got $8 million for that. Then they showed how the president used the White House employees to conceal his conduct and to mislead the American people about all this. Now, the committees have also obtained significant evidence that corroborates many of the allegations made by IRS whistleblowers with respect to the DOJ's deviations. Remember, when the election was right around the corner, they were investigating Hunter, and they covered it all up. In fact, before they were going to raid one of his garages, storage facilities, the DOJ called his attorney and warned them to empty it, and they did. The Justice Department allowed the statute of limitations to run on 2 charges that were serious facing Hunter. Not seeing any FARA charges, see those? The DOJ also prevented line attorneys from conducting key interviews and pursuing important lines of inquiry. The Justice Department also tipped off, here it is, Hunter's attorney about non-public actions and implemented unnecessary hurdles and approvals for prosecutors to charge Hunter. Weren't even using his name in certain documents. The special treatment for Hunter, which only ceased at the onset of congressional congressional attention may be a basis for impeachment. It was a distortion of an official investigation just like they got Nixon for. Now, additionally, the House need not show that Biden ordered his subordinates to obstruct this. He may be impeached for actions of his subordinates. Now, during the course of this inquiry, they have failed to fully cooperate with us. They've instructed certain key fact witnesses to not answer questions, disregard our subpoenas. The Biden-Harris White House has obfuscated facts and denied the committee's access to witnesses. Biden also met with Hunter before Hunter's defiance of his subpoenas. The White House acknowledged that he was aware of Hunter's actions too. Oh, you got a subpoena? I still want to meet with you so we can get our story straight. Here too, precedent from the Democrats' prior impeachment was instructive. They said this: as a matter of constitutional law, the House may properly conclude that a president's obstruction is relevant to assessing the evidentiary record in an impeachment inquiry, saying this about Trump. And where the president illegally seeks to obstruct, the House is free to infer that it's harmful to the president's position. So if you don't give us the documents, we can use that against you, says the House, when Trump was doing it. Now, applying the precedent here, the House is free to conclude that the witnesses and information currently withheld from the committees are adverse to the president. Now, the totality of the corrupt conduct uncovered by this committee is egregious. Joe Biden conspired to commit influence peddling and grift, and in doing so, he abused his office repeatedly. Then he lied about it. Then he defrauded the United States to enrich himself and his family. Not one of these transactions would have occurred but for Joe Biden's official position in the government. He is the center. This pattern of conduct ensured his family, who provided no legitimate service, lived a lavish lifestyle. The evidence uncovered in the committee's impeachment inquiry reflects a family selling the Biden brand and the big guy, with Joe swooping in to seal the deals on speakerphone meetings and on private dinners. It shows a concerted effort to conceal Biden's involvement because they would say it, forget it, write it, regret it. That's their little phrase, Biden family motto. They continue saying, Biden acquiesced to and participated in this scheme. Those schemes generated millions of dollars, and they wouldn't have been able to do it if Joe didn't show up. He did it intentionally. He did it repeatedly. He did it with knowledge that his actions sent the message that his family members wanted. They could get him to show up. They could get him to do it. Given considerable member interest in the status of this inquiry and to correct false and misleading ideas, we are now creating this report, and whistleblowers continue to provide information about this. Now, the Constitution's remedy for a president's flagrant abuse of the office is clear: impeachment and removal by the Senate. Despite the cheapening of the impeachment power by the Democrats in recent years, they tried it twice because they were so desperate with Trump. The House decision to pursue articles must not be made lightly, and as such, this report endeavors to present the evidence gathered to date so that members of the House may do so when determining what Joe Biden did. Here are the findings. Now, from 2014 to the present, as part of a conspiracy to monetize Joe Biden's office and to enrich the Biden family, they got over $27 million. Woo, man, that's a lot. In order to obscure the source of these funds, they set up shell companies. They used proceeds to provide hundreds of thousands to Joe, thousands directly traceable to China, and Jim Biden claimed he gave his money to Joe to repay personal loans. There's no evidence of any personal loans. The Biden family's receipt of millions of dollars required Joe Biden knowing about all this, and it all happened while he was VP. Now, Biden also used his status as vice president to garner favorable outcomes for his son and his business partners. He acknowledged that Hunter was involved with business dealings with Russia, Romania, China, Kazakhstan, Ukrainian companies and individuals. And Joe actually met or spoke with nearly every one of them, including people from Ukraine, China, Russia, Kazakhstan. All of them were foreign people. Biden and his family got millions of dollars. Now, the Biden family also leveraged Joe's position in a public trust. They got over $8 million in loans from Democratic benefactors. Millions of dollars in those loans have not been repaid. They just say, oh, we're just going to loan you like $8 million. Do I have to pay you back? No, but that way we don't get busted. Many of these loans and the paperwork doesn't even exist, right? And the IRS is like, if the DOJ is not investigating Hunter, they don't even open Biden's file, obviously. Biden what? Don't even open it. This raises serious questions about whether these funds were provided as gifts or actually whether they were disguised in more likelihood as loans. Now, under the Biden administration, the DOJ and the FBI afforded special treatment to Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Several witnesses acknowledge the delicate approach used by Hunter. They described the investigation as sensitive or as significant. Evidence shows that they slow-walked the investigation. They informed the defense attorneys of future actions. Hey, we're going to come and raid your storage facility. You want to do anything about it? Sure do. When? Prevented line investigators from taking other investigative steps, and they allowed the statute of limitations, which is like first grade 101 prosecutors. Calendar the statute of limitations. Don't let those expire. The most serious felony charges, expired. Now, these tactics were all convenient. They all benefited Hunter. The DOJ also misled Congress about the independence of these law enforcement entities. Administration and political appointees exercised oversight and control. David Weiss, who oversaw this investigation, created a ridiculous agreement. He had to seek agreement from other U.S. attorneys to go prosecute the case. He wasn't really even a special counsel. And he needed approval from Biden's own DOJ to bring charges. So he wasn't a special counsel at all. And he was a guy who was very closely, he was from Delaware, apparently was all plugged in there with all the individuals in the Delaware government. Despite this clear conflict, Weiss was only afforded special counsel status after Congress started poking around. Now, the White House has also obstructed our committee. They've withheld documents, they've withheld witnesses, they've impeded our investigation, they're refusing to make relevant witnesses available for interviews, they're asserting executive privilege over audio recordings over special counsel Hur, and they're preventing the National Archives from turning over documents that are material to the committee's inquiry. And it just reads like a big giant freaking complaint, doesn't it? You're like, okay, where's the Republican Liz Cheney, who's going to form and formulate some fake committee that doesn't even comport with the rules, nobody cares about, and then subpoena everybody and then arrest them if they don't show up. We'll see if that ever happens. Now, this report is massive. There is a ton of detail inside. They've got records of all the money. So Burisma to Rosemont Seneca. When you're making $1 million a year, this is what it looks like when it gets deposited into your bank account. Okay, I don't know this from any personal experience, but this is Hunter, okay, who's looking at that, right? Hunter Biden looking at that 83 grand a month just going right into his bank account for doing nothing because his dad is the vice president and Democrats defended him for a long time. He's like, what happened here? It's like a transaction fee. Uh-oh. But you can see, right, crazy amounts of money all just being funneled into him for not doing anything other than really being a crackhead. Tons of details, emails from Eric Sherwin, copying Rob Walker from James Gilliar, Hunter's business engagements. I mean, the list goes on and on. Here's from this guy, Vadim Pazurski. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. It's really an honor and a pleasure. As we spoke yesterday evening, would be great to meet today for a quick coffee. What do you think? I could come by your office around noon on my way to the airport. Signed, your friend, Ukraine. Soon after, Obama designated Vice President Biden as his point man on anti-corruption in Ukraine. Hunter was appointed to Burisma's board of directors. Isn't that amazing? You're going to be the anti-corruption czar, and Hunter goes on the board. One of the most corrupt arrangements we've ever seen. Democrats are amazing like that. They even appointed Kamala for the border. We see how that turned out. So, ton of details here. Couple more highlights, couple more exchanges. You can see here's an email from R. Hunter Biden, his letterhead, to Director Zhang from Hunter. He says, "Hey, dear Zhang, I hope this letter finds you well. We anticipate working together on a number of projects. I believe that we have presented a collection of projects. As we await your visit to the U.S., you can work with my friend James Gilliar." And the investigation has been very thorough. Obviously, the corruption is deep. Joe Biden also is not obviously going to be the presidential nominee. This is Jim Biden having conversations. James Gilliar says, "Spent more time with Joe and Jim this morning. Like them, Hunter missed it." I wonder why. Probably cracked out somewhere. He also saw them last night, including Hunter. Let's talk tomorrow. All right, so the report is very, very big. They tell us Joe Biden has exhibited conduct that constitutes abuse of power, foreign entanglements, corruption, obstruction of investigations. The committees have revealed that the Biden family, with the full knowledge and cooperation of Joe, is engaged in a global influencing racket. They've made millions. Vast, Russia, China, many others. Joe was involved. They sought his involvement. They used code names. They used shell companies. They used third parties. They tried to obfuscate all this. James Biden called it plausible deniability. They got it. As the committee, whistleblowers, and witnesses, and a few brave media outlets that pursued these leads, many have sought to bury the president's involvement. DOJ was involved. White House changed its story. Biden has not been able to maintain a consistent narrative about his role. The goalposts have changed many times. Joe Biden didn't even know Hunter. Well, he's his son. Oh, well, he did know him, but he didn't know about his business deals. Well, he was on the phone with them. Well, they were only talking about the weather. Well, in this one, they say you were talking about the business. Well, they were only talking about the business, but they never actually did business. Oh, I see. Keeps moving. Now, to date, the testimony and the documents received show Biden knew about, participated in, and benefited from this. While Biden to date has avoided accountability, the committees are dedicated to ensuring that this influence is not for sale. Biden has abused his office. He's put his family's financial interests above the American people. And although our fact-finding is ongoing, the evidence uncovered here today amounts to impeachable conduct. The committee presents this information to the House of Representatives for its evaluation and consideration of the appropriate next steps, which obviously should be impeachment. I mean, if this is true. I think there's two tracks to think about here. Obviously, impeachment for massive corruption would be the right thing to do for a government that we wanted to function appropriately and act with integrity and all of those things. So that might be the right thing to do. That would obviously put Kamala in place, which makes her the first president. They take that, so politically there's a different line of thinking to all of this. Do you want Joe to stay through the end? Do you not want him to stay? Should he be impeached? Should the Republicans waste their time on him when he's a lame duck president? Should this go further at all? Or we should just, should the Republican Republican Party and basically people who don't want to become communists just focus our attention on Kamala. In other words, is the public interested in this as it ties to Joe? Are they interested in this as just a symptom of a much broader problem within the Democratic Party? And this is exposing that and connects all of this to the Democratic Party. So it's like an anchor, like an albatross around the neck. We will see what the rest of the House does. I speculate that they'll just let Joe be Joe. They'll just kind of burn him out, not waste the political capital on impeachment at this moment because he's a lame duck. And he also looks terrible because he's not all there.